My 28 male, wife 32 female, keeps throwing divorce in my face over everything. I just agreed and left. I'm currently staying with my sister. My wife and I have been together for 5 years, married for 4. We've known each other for years prior. We have 1 kid together who is 4, and I am the primary breadwinner in the house as she is a stay-at-home mom. It was her choice not to go back to work. For the last year and a half, we have been having arguments about 1 to 2 times a month. To be clear, I do help out with our daughter. I clean, cook, and I'm involved with both of them. The first time she said she wanted a divorce was when we got into an argument when my sister called and asked if she could stay with us for a bit as she was having relationship problems, which is ironic now. I said she could, and my wife was not happy about that. I pointed out that her friend stayed with us a couple of months prior for 5 weeks and didn't do anything around the house. Plus, she was just there. No discussion, no nothing. She was a stranger to me and my daughter, while my sister is lovely and has a great relationship with our daughter, and I thought my wife was as well. She ended up staying with us for a week, helping out around the house, cooking, cleaning, and watching our daughter when needed. I thought we both forgave each other and moved on. The fights are usually over something small. 90% are not started by me. I have suggested therapy and counseling, but she always said we never needed it. Well, I had it last night. She picked a fight saying I was spending too much time at work, and that she feels abandoned, and that I'm not a good father. Then ended her rant with I want a divorce. I stood up and told her that the only reason I work so much is because she can't stop spending our money on things we don't need or use. She refused to get a job or go to school to help her out. I provide for the family, for my daughter. I'm always at her important dates, functions, doctor's appointments, anything she needs, while she refused to get help through therapy or counseling. I don't want this anymore, so I'll have my lawyer send her the papers when she writes it up. I got my daughter's things and left with her to my sister's. It has been 2 days now and she keeps calling and texting saying she is sorry, that she didn't mean it. She wants to go to counseling and therapy. She needs me, she misses me, etc. I don't know what to do. I love her. She is a good mother, but I can't do this anymore. Internet strangers, please help. Yes, I have a lawyer for my family to work, and I have known her since I was a teen. Now for the top advice. This is still only a snippet of your life. You still know your wife and life better than we do. Make the best decision for your daughter. That's all you can do. Toxic parents are the freaking worst, especially when they can't get over their BS for their kids' sake. You got this, king. Always put your daughter first. I agree with all of this besides putting your daughter first. I'm a mother, so let me explain. Put you first, and here is why. If you're in no type of mental condition to provide the best care for your daughter, because your wife is a stressor so she makes you stressed, then it falls on the daughter, either inadvertently or sometimes otherwise. What good would he be to himself or his daughter if he's unhappy and stressed? We as parents are always told to put our kids first, but our kids count on us to provide what they need. How good are we to them if we are unhappy? Put you first, while taking your daughter into consideration second. Either way, it seems that you both will be there for your daughter, so she will be good. But think about whether you want to spend the rest of your life with someone who doesn't even consider her own mental health, albeit yours, when y'all get into squabbles. Also, the top comment is right. This only is one portion of your life. We don't know the rest of the details. So again, do what's best for you, and the rest will follow either way. This is a very solid point. I don't think OP has done anything wrong, but honestly, his wife's behavior is of someone who is lacking internal stimulation. If she had a job or a proper routine outside of the house, maybe she wouldn't be picking fights over everything and anything. My partner got injured last year for 3 months. The fact that he couldn't go on runs and swimming sessions with his friends made him so unbearable. Same for me when I took the work from home option to the extreme and became a bit annoying too. Thankfully, none of us called for divorce nor offended each other. I gently told my partner that it was clear that he needed his time with his friends, and he gently told me that I needed to go more to the office to change my routine. Staying in a comfort zone can be dangerous if we are never challenged. I had the exact same situation. After the 500th time of her saying we should get a divorce, I finally agreed. Of course, her version of the story later was that I left her, but even that wasn't worth arguing over. My best advice is that even after divorce, you will need to work things out with her on things regarding your daughter. So don't do anything mean or spiteful during the process. Wait a while to see other people after you move out, or she will assume you are cheating on her with any new person. You can't make other people happy. She needs to be responsible for her own happiness. Don't be angry. Just say, I love you and I want you to be happy. But it's clear I can't do that. So you're right that we're better off getting a divorce. And then don't waver on that decision. If you don't mind, I might end up saying something similar to that. People that say things are fine and refuse counseling while blaming all the problems on the other spouse, then promise wild changes to stop the divorce, aren't to be trusted. They're perfectly content being taken care of and having no responsibility for their own happiness. They make promises to keep you from changing and then go back to what is comfortable and easy for them. Right now, your stay-at-home wife's whole world is upended. She's losing her comfortable home, will need to share custody of the child she had 100% of the time. She's going to have to support herself. I'm not a lawyer, but where I live, alimony payments aren't for life. They're often just half the duration of the marriage. The courts will see she's young and capable of having a career still. Child support payment are until the child is 18 at a percentage of your income and how much custody you have. So she knows she messed up. My advice is that you go through with the divorce, even if you love her, and consider going back after you've seen her change. She gets a job, she gets therapy. Next story. I left my husband the day after our youngest moved out. He says I've deceived him all these years. My female 49 husband, male 51, cheated on me. It was 10 years ago when I got a call from school saying that our youngest, then 9, was sick and needed to go home. When we arrived, I heard them in our bedroom. I panicked, made loud noises to let them know they weren't alone and that our daughter was with me. I'm crying just writing this. I still cry whenever I remember that day. The first year after that was the hardest on me. I felt so insignificant and inadequate, ugly and undesirable. We started therapy and my husband promised to do anything to make it work again. We moved apartments and bought new furniture, and I started a new habit of changing the sheets every night before bed. But all of this wasn't as effective as that one morning when I woke up and realized that I wasn't in love with my husband anymore. After this realization, everything seemed easier moving forward. I saw him as a roommate and a great support raising the children, a good friend. We love our children and we wanted the best for them. And for these next 10 years, we hardly ever fought. And we raised 3 beautiful, happy, and successful young people. When I realized that I didn't love him anymore, I also stopped caring what if he did it again. It was one of my nightmares in the beginning, but I didn't care anymore as long as I slept in clean sheets every night. Around Christmas, our youngest daughter, who is now 19, got her first contract for her own apartment. And that's when I knew that I was free. I also set in motion my plans of moving out and getting my divorce. I found myself an apartment too, and I thought my husband could live in our apartment until we settled everything up. But when I told him and handed him the divorce papers, he was in shock. And when I moved out the day after my daughter, on April 2, he was even more shocked and distraught. Now he's telling me that I have deceived him all these years, acting like I was fine when I wasn't, while he lived in regret every day for how he hurt me. That I am cold and calculated and vindictive. I don't recognize any of these accusations. I don't see things that way. I saw it as me, and him of course, doing the best with what I was dealt to make a happy and content life for our children. Our whole family really. And I think that I succeeded. What more could anyone ask of me? Edit. I'm thankful that you are reaching out. I'm sorry I can't chat with all of you. I will try to answer women/men who are going/went through similar situations and I want to help. Yes, we're still intimate. It started again 2 to 3 years later. We used protection though because I wouldn't let him touch me without. I said we hardly ever fought, but if we did, it was about intimacy and the rubbers. Also, it went from 2 to 3 times a week to 2 to 3 times a year. In my mind, if he cheated when we were very intimate and active, he was probably cheating now. It bothered me less and less with years. I don't know how long they were sleeping together. I don't know who she was. I never wanted to know. I just saw her once and that was the only thing I didn't want to know in therapy. I don't know if he still slept with her or others. I just assumed he did because it was easier for me to expect the worst. I never said love you to him again. Something we used to say often before. He continued saying it. It always told me that he would wait for me to say it back. I didn't need to leave to find happiness sooner. I was happy and lucky having my children and my home. I didn't need more. But now I see no reason or happiness in staying. I never did what I did to get back at him or to get revenge. My children know I have left. They are sad, but my reason was good enough. I was out of love with him. They don't know the details and we are keeping it this way. They don't need to know anything. No, I don't change my beddings every night now. I have no need. Acting like I was fine when I wasn't. Meanwhile, she changes the bedsheet every night and cannot be intimate without protection. Dude has no concept of what fine looks like. I never again told him I love you in 10 years. Not once. I'm not sure how we didn't come to the conclusion that she was checked out. I think I'd noticed something was up after less than a week. Way too many men interpret checked out as everything is fine. Because when most women check out, they stop fighting since they just don't care anymore. Men think no fighting means the problem is solved. This is what happened to me. My ex punched me in the face, and I checked out for 2 years until I had saved enough money to leave. He thought we were doing good because we didn't fight anymore. You didn't deceive him. You have been fine all these years. You just never told him why, and he clearly never asked. This is the most telling thing. He never noticed how disengaged she became. You generally don't behave the same with a roommate as you do a partner, and intimacy can be just that. It doesn't have to have the deep meaning it can have between two lovers. I see they went to therapy, but I'm not sure it was a good therapist, or if the ex-husband really put in the work. And he apparently thought her changing the sheets every night after he cheated was a normal behavior, and didn't at all indicate that she still didn't trust him. Your husband has some audacity blaming you for deceiving him. He was cheating on you in your own home. He was living in guilt because of his own actions. If this was me, I wouldn't care about what he says about this. I wouldn't really even bother giving an explanation. Last story. I feel betrayed by my soon-to-be ex-husband and his new girlfriend. Yesterday at my 35-week prenatal appointment, my soon-to-be ex-husband let me know that he's dating a new chick. To be honest, I felt nothing of the knowledge that he is dating someone new, because this is the reason we are separated, and it has taken me a while to break the feelings I have for this man. Now, what pisses me off is this fool telling me that girlfriend is wanting to be part of my baby's life, and that she wants to meet me blah blah blah, which I politely put up boundaries and shut down her being involved in our kid's life until they have a more serious relationship. He tells me she lives in a different state and other inconsequential bull that I really didn't want to know, but whatever. Also, he swore me to secrecy about this, and that he doesn't want his family to find out about this girl, because my ex-mother-in-law still blames his infidelity on his anti-depression medication, and that my baby would need its parents together, and that we need to work in our marriage. Even though I recently found out that my ex-brother-in-law, mother-in-law's oldest son, cheated on his wife, and that my mother-in-law is all for them getting divorced, and that she wants sister-in-law to get everything. Well, here's the betrayal. This girl not only lives in our town, but works at my job and has been for months. She knows me and had met me on a few occasions, and I feel super violated. This man lied to me about this girl and thinks it's okay. When I got upset about finding out the truth, he made me feel like I'm crazy, and that his girlfriend didn't want the drama. WTF. I feel like my place of work had been invaded, and that them keeping this secret for so long is so deceitful. I'm about to have this man's baby. We are separated. We have only been separated for 6 freaking months. How is any of this real right now? I feel like I'm about to walk on stage of Jerry Springer and deal with crazy girlfriend drama. I know people deal with worse, but damn, why me? Why can he move on while I'm here, a human incubator who he beat down emotionally for 5 years, and he can move on to someone else and then not warn me that that person invaded my place of work and neither had a boss to say a word? I don't care if he has a girlfriend. I was supportive when he told me, but for some reason, the lying and her being part of my workplace caused me so much distress. Now for the comments. Honestly, it sounds like your ex-mother-in-law knows how bad her son is and doesn't want to have to take him back on because you guys are splitting. That's what happened with my parents. My grandmother knew how her son was and got mad that my mom kicked him out. She was so resentful that she stopped checking in on me and my brother. My ex is a difficult man to deal with, but his family has a lot of control and influence on him, and it caused a lot of issues in our relationship. They would make input in our life, and he would put the family opinion in higher regard than mine. The cheating was really the last straw. My ex had a lot of other issues that I just ignored. Sounds like it is a very good thing you got out. Yeah, I can agree. But unfortunately, I will have to share a child with these people. I also am still grieving a 6-year relationship. But at the end of the day, the bad outweighs the good. No idea why mother-in-law is going in this direction when she went the other way for her other daughter-in-law. If your soon-to-be ex is particularly challenging to live with, it may have something to do with not wanting him to come home to her. You just take care of you and your soon-to-be arriving baby. Don't worry about them. I hope you have friends and family who are supportive around you. Jesus, it really says something about the character of their mother if both sons cheated on their long-term partners. I am assuming the sister-in-law doesn't have kids, and by traditional standards, it is easier to support her leaving her other son than it is to support you, since she likely holds the ideals that a kid should have two parents, as if marriage changes that. Put mother-in-law in timeout and explain she can either support you or get lost. Sister-in-law has 4 children with brother-in-law. I agree that she deserves all his worth because he's a POS. But my issue is that I was being basically pushed to reconcile, and she was basically given permission. Unfortunately, they only care about image, and to this day, it's not public knowledge about either of her sons' divorces based on the info I have been given. Am I the a-hole for publicly humiliating my mom? I'm 24 female and I have a half-brother Ethan who is 17. When I was 16, our mother married her new husband and has 2 kids with him. Ethan's father isn't in his life, so he stays with them full-time, but I spend more time with my dad and his family because I just get along with them better. I love my mom, but she can be a bit much sometimes, so I rarely see her. Ethan and I text occasionally. It was my mother's birthday a few days ago, and while I was visiting, I noticed that Ethan and my newborn half-sibling weren't around. I asked my mom where they were at, and she said that she asked Ethan to check up on the baby while she took a break. We were all in the backyard, by the way, which is massive. But yeah, okay, no biggie. But sometime later, I still couldn't find him. And so I went to Ethan's room and found him rocking the baby while she's inconsolable. And he's crying too because she won't stop. There were diapers and baby formula everywhere, but he was saying that he tried everything but she won't stop. I managed to calm them both down somehow and asked Ethan why he didn't just call someone for help. He said that he's usually good at this, but mom makes him take care of the baby all the time, so he just panicked. He then told me that he helped out with our other half-sister when she was a baby as well and still takes care of her. I was really upset. I mean, yes, there's nothing wrong with needing a break, but Ethan's a 17-year-old boy. He's not a father or a mother, but apparently he takes care of our half-siblings more than our mom and stepdad. I walked up to my mom while she was talking to a group of people and basically told her that I can't believe she's dumping all her responsibilities on Ethan. She knew what I was talking about immediately and told me to relax and that Ethan likes it blah blah. I told her that while she was out here having a blast, her son was sobbing in his room because of how overwhelmed he was. She got really red and everyone went silent, which was awkward, but yeah. I later got a call from my mom saying that she respects my opinions on this situation, but that I didn't need to publicly humiliate her in front of her friends and coworkers. Apparently, her boss was there too, and he's being very cold to her now. I don't know. I just can't get Ethan out of my head. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You didn't humiliate her in front of people. Her own behavior humiliated her in front of people, and now she's transferring the blame to you. If she had done nothing wrong, why would she be embarrassed by what you said? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She sounds like the kind of person to take you out to a nice restaurant to break bad news, and then gets angry when you make a scene in a fancy place. There was like a line in the last "What Do We Do in the Shadows" that made me think of like half the posts on the sub, "Stop saying the things that I have done." Not the a-hole. Hate to say it, but public humiliation is a good driver for change. Mom is not God. The earth is full of awful people, and a good amount of them are moms. I would, however, suggest that you follow up with him to make sure she didn't retaliate against him. I hope she doesn't rip into Ethan about crying and complaining to his sister. I wish that there was a way Ethan could get away from that situation. He's 17. It's worth waiting out the less than a year and giving him housing on his 18th birthday. Hopefully there's money left over for therapy to overcome the massive guilt trip mom is gonna lay to get her free babysitting back. There will always be a better way to handle things depending on what you talk to. Could you have waited to tell her? Sure. Could she have listened? Likely not. Sometimes the court of public opinion is what people need to wake up. What she's doing is called parentification and is not healthy to do to children. It steals childhoods, creates rifts. It's just harmful. I'm going to say you're not the a-hole mainly because poor Ethan was sobbing and doing his best, and is the nanny apparently. Thank you for standing up for your sibling. I know it can be hard to do that, but I know he appreciated that. I'm not sure where you can go from here. Maybe find articles about parentification and show them to your mom and stepdad. If you have a good relationship with your dad, talk to him about what you witnessed, what you did, and her reaction. Let him know you are worried and not sure how to help Ethan. I wish you all the luck, OP. Next story. Am I the a-hole for keeping a massive secret from my parents? My parents, female 66 and male 70, and I, female 32, have had a bit of a strained relationship since I was young. My sister was always favored while I was treated as the maid, which is why I left home as soon as I could. Over the years, our relationship has had its ups and downs, but I would never describe our family dynamics as being particularly normal or healthy. I married my husband, male 36, when I was 23, and my parents just about hit the roof. They have never really taken a shining to him, and threatened to disown me if I went through with the marriage. When he and I would visit their home, he is subject to the same expectations as I am, whereas my sister gets to put her feet up and relax. Needless to say, my husband does not hold my parents in particularly high regard. My parents immigrated overseas about 10 years ago, and my husband and I have only seen them 3 times in person since. We do chat over FaceTime/Zoom semi-regularly, but the relationships all function better if we weren't breathing down each other's necks. Recently, my husband and I bought our first house and we are over the moon. We plan on growing our family, and we now have the space and a garden to do so. I am beyond thrilled. My parents are kept on a strict information diet, and we did not tell them that we had bought. Mostly because they are renting a storage unit not far from us, and we did not want the drama of my parents wanting/expecting to store all of their furniture in our new house. We also did not tell them that our new house is much more spacious than our old place. As far as my parents are aware, we just moved because it is closer to my husband's job. Unbeknownst to me, my parents have been in the country for about a month and ran into a childhood friend, D, female 34, of mine yesterday. Dee told them that I had invited her to coffee today, and it would be so lovely if they came with her and surprised me. Dee had no way of knowing that I had not told my parents about the spacious new house, until they all walked through the front door and my mom lost her mind at me. The main points from my mom's yelling was that our relationship has been good recently, so how could I have kept the secret from them? That my husband and I were selfish to have all this space with no regard for the fact that they are renting a storage unit, and that my parents are hurt I don't include them in all parts of my life. Unfortunately, my husband arrived home not long after the tirade started, and he told them to stop making a scene under his roof. That is when the other shoe dropped, that we had bought instead of rented. Ultimately, my parents left after telling me that a true daughter would never keep secrets like this, and I'm left feeling like everything could have been avoided if we had told them from the beginning. To be frank though, I honestly never expected them in my house. They do not have the address, and they live overseas. Their reaction demonstrated that your fears were justified. Rather than being happy for you, they were miserable for themselves, not stay home. Absolutely. The hypocrisy of our relationship has been good recently, so how could I have kept the secret from them? From the person who was in town for a month without telling OP is particularly rich. Right. Their main complaint was that they could have been using their daughter's house for storage all that time. It's so absurd. They were put out that she had not made herself available to them to exploit the way they had grown accustomed to doing while she was younger. Therefore, she has betrayed their trust. And yet they couldn't be bothered to tell her they were in town for a month just in case she hadn't asked for a few hours of their time. Not day whole. I know this is kind of like comparing apples and oranges, but personally I find it hilarious that your parents have been in the area seemingly without your knowledge for a month, but they're also mad that you haven't told them everything. I mean, it's kind of funny. Also, my vote is not the a-hole. Keep doing what you're doing. I know. One of the first things that popped out to me too. A whole month. Their audacity is large enough to store their things there. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It's a really weird twist of fate that occurred and made them know about the house. You decide what information you share with who, and it's your house, so your rules. How could I have kept the secret from them? My husband and I were selfish to have all this space with no regard for the fact that they are renting a storage unit. They were in the country for a month and didn't tell you. It shows how interested they are in your life. Also, exactly like you predicted, they want to use your house as a storage unit. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not reminding my son to shower, causing him to be humiliated? I, female 40s, have son Mike, male 15. He is a good kid, except he has a bit of a video game issue. He will lose track of time very quickly and forget to do other things unless he is reminded multiple times. And even then he gets mad that he is being reminded. Example, he will forget the time I told him to come down and eat, and get mad if I call him more than once, but then comes down half an hour later and is mad that his food is cold. A while ago, he was doing bad in school because he couldn't stop playing soon enough to be able to complete his homework by the end of the day. So we took away his console until he got his grades up. They've been fine ever since. One thing I had been dealing with for over a year now is the fact that he will forget to shower. We had an issue where he wouldn't stop playing to shower or at least take a break to do so. And he would be making noise at 10 to 11 p.m. when he finally realized he hadn't yet. This was an issue for me as I have to wake up at 2 a.m. to get ready for work, and I would always be woken up since my room shares a wall with a bathroom. I then told him that he had until 9 p.m. to shower, no later than that. This wouldn't work either, and while he did shower before 9 3 or 4 times, he quickly went back to the same pattern. Keep in mind that I would remind him to shower multiple times throughout the day, starting as soon as he got home from school. Didn't work. So about a few days ago, I decided I was done. I wasn't going to remind him 10 times throughout the day and left him. He did not shower for 4 to 5 days in a row. He plays sports, so he stunk. He still didn't shower. Yesterday was the 4th or 5th day without showering, and he came home from school very angry. He wouldn't speak to me in the car and was wearing a hoodie even though it's 100+ degrees here. He got home and immediately showered. Later in the day, he blew up yelling, "Why didn't anyone tell me I smelled bad?" He was very mad because apparently his friends had been acting weird, and a girl he has a crush on ended up being the one to tell him he smelled bad and offered him deodorant. He was extremely embarrassed and hasn't spoken to any of us after his angry speech he gave after school yesterday. I feel bad that he had to be embarrassed, but I didn't know what else to do. Am I the a-hole? Should I have handled it a different way? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Sometimes it takes learning things the hard way for them to stick. Don't remind him at all anymore, unless it's a family event that would reflect badly on you. He's 15, and it's long overdue for him to learn some self-care and hygiene. There is a fabulous beauty/skincare guru on the internet by the name of Caroline Hirons. She talks very openly about how teenage boys suck at showering and how it doesn't matter how many times you as a mother tell them to shower. The only way they learn is when a girl they like finally tells them they stink. And suddenly, it's like their noses open up and a cloud is lifted, and the absolute stink of teenage boy is apparent to them. Basically, teenagers suck, especially boys, at hygiene, and they rarely listen unless hormones and ego are involved. Sounds like you are doing your best. Teenage boys are numbskulls. Don't agree, mama? I knew exactly when my eldest son developed his first crush on a girl at school. He started showering voluntarily. Not the a-hole. Your son just learned what consequences mean. If you don't shower, you smell bad. And if you smell bad, a pretty girl won't like you. His priorities are messed up. Let him learn a few life lessons. It isn't your job to remind him of things he already knows he should be doing. Lock up the gaming system. He gets X amount of time gaming after he's eaten, showered, done all his homework, and any chores you deem appropriate. Although I'll bet he never forgets to shower again. He caused himself to be humiliated and is acting like a 3-year-old. Not the a-hole. Absolutely agree with you. Gaming is a privilege, not a requirement. Also, please don't insult 3-year-olds. I have 2 grandsons around that age, and they already know that watching their tablets or TV are rewards while picking up toys, putting away clothes, and bathing come first. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to buy my neighbor's groceries? We just had a woman, mid-20s, and her daughter 9 move into the apartment across the hall from us. The day the woman and her daughter moved in, she got on Buy Nothing, Nextdoor, Facebook Marketplace, and really any other neighborhood buy/sell/giveaway group asking for furniture, baby supplies as she's pregnant, and clothes and toys for her daughter. Her daughter went to the same summer camp as my kids, 9 female and 11 female, and after she started there, they conveniently had a food drive for their disadvantaged campers. My kids have been going there since they were 3 and they've never had a food drive. Then, when school started, she got on the parent groups and asked if anyone would be able to drive her daughter home from school and watch her for an hour until she gets home. No pay was mentioned. My husband pressured me to say yes, because she's friends with our girls, and she's in the same class as our younger daughter, so they can do homework together. That hour turned into 2, and she started having dinner with us almost every night. Then a girl told my husband she doesn't think her mom is eating when she has dinner with us. That day we had a lasagna big enough to feed all of us twice, and he sent the leftovers home with her. Then he started to send all of our leftovers home with her, along with clothes our daughters grew out of, toys they don't want anymore, and he started to buy extra groceries for them. He didn't get anything expensive, just things like milk, eggs, store-brand cereals, fruits and vegetables, and sometimes meat. It started adding up to an extra $40 to $50 a week just for them. He also started helping them around the house. I eventually told him to stop sending the leftovers home because I take them for lunch. And sometimes the kids also take them, so not having the leftovers is costing us extra money. Plus, the $40 to $50 a week should be spent on our family, not the woman across the hall. He said we can afford it and they need it much more than we do. And I said we already do more than enough for them, acting as a free daycare for her and giving her daughter dinner 5 days a week. He called me selfish, jealous, and cruel, and now I want to know if I'm the a-hole. Not the a-hole. And I would tell him this, when he is the one providing the free daycare, buying, as in going to the store and actually getting, the extra groceries, cooking the extra food, and having to prepare the extra lunches because no leftovers. Then, and only then, can he call anyone else selfish. It's all fine and good for him to feel good about himself for what you are providing. But nah, he gets no credit for that morally or otherwise. He does the grocery shopping and would take turns on lunches, but he doesn't think it's a big deal. He says microwaving some chicken nuggets and sticking them in thermos isn't any different than microwaving some leftovers and putting them in the thermos. But there is a difference because now we go through some chicken nuggets, bread, lunch meats, etc. faster. You mentioned that he's also doing sort of handyman things around her place. He's defensive about providing for her. Just be wary that all his intentions are purely charitable. I gotta chime in. Something similar happened to my coworker. Her husband was friends with a neighbor's husband. Neighbor's husband died in a car accident, and husband started helping out the widow with handyman projects, lawn care, etc. 18 months later, husband comes home, says he's in love with widow and she's pregnant with his child. If she's a single mother, she should be able to get food assistance and maybe even some type of assistance check. My sister 52, my nephew is 20, they both work, and get SNAP benefits. No disabilities or health problems. Am I the a-hole for confronting someone I bullied about their passive-aggressive post about me when I have tried to make amends? I, 29 female, was a bully in high school. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not going to downplay or try to justify it or anything. But I grew up, learned from my mistakes, and didn't repeat them. One of my targets was Ruby, 28 female. We ran in the same circle until high school when I made friends with some people in a different group. You could say they were the popular kids. Ruby, being so obviously on the spectrum, made her easy to torment. We also took advantage of how badly she wanted to be popular. Towards the end of high school, she started to stand up for herself more. In college, I grew up and figured I would try to extend an olive branch. I started off by sending friend requests on social media, which were denied. I did, however, notice that she accepted my follow request on Instagram but didn't follow me back. I mention this because she regularly shares autism awareness and anti-bullying content. I got the message and left her alone. I wasn't going to waste her or my time with an apology that wouldn't be accepted anyway. Several years ago, our old group had a reunion and tried to talk to her there, but was met with short and curt replies and death stares. Later, I saw she posted pictures specifically without me in them, and if I was in them, I was cropped out. I messaged the group chats we made to coordinate this meetup. Wow, real mature Ruby, which wasn't acknowledged. Recently, Ruby was in our hometown. She posted pictures with people we went to school with, which had passive-aggressive captions about how they overcame bullying together and stayed together. At one point, she even posted a story with a caption, "Screw you, OP. You will never stop me from living my best life." Again, I haven't interacted with her in many years by this point, or tormented anyone at all. The kicker though, she posted pictures with a couple of the guys from my old group with a caption about how nice it is when people grow and change. I about had it at this point. I DM'd her about how she clearly forgives male bullies who said worse things than I ever did, but always snubs me when I have genuine remorse and didn't want to sleep with her. I also let her know that some people in the group still made fun of her when reminiscing, but she won't forgive the person who doesn't partake. Once again, no direct communication. Just another passive-aggressive post with a screenshot of the message and a caption about how I clearly haven't changed, and airing out all the trauma I inflicted on her. Then other people from high school began to comment on that post about their own experiences with me. Some even started to DM me and call me out on behavior from over a decade ago, when I haven't repeated. Am I really an a-hole for calling out hypocrisy like I see it? Like, yeah, she can choose who she forgives, but I can honestly say that others in the group treated Ruby much worse than I ever did. I actually am sorry, and this is the one time I expressed any annoyance at this whole situation. Now for the top comments. I didn't even read anywhere you gave a legit apology. You're the a-hole. Exactly. Opie never said sorry. She sent a friend request which was denied. You can send people messages without being their friend. It just lands in the other folder, or she could ask a mutual friend to forward her the written apology. She had options to message and apologize, and she didn't take it. Opie, you never owned up to your mistakes. You are the a-hole, and still a bully. And then gave up because it was never accepted. She couldn't even put in the effort for her non-apology for tormenting the woman. And that assumes all anti-bullying messages are passive-aggressive towards her. Maybe Ruby is just an activist, or has kids or younger relatives who might be harassed for the same condition she has. But of course, Opie's passive-aggressive remark of, wow, real mature, is totally fine and dandy. Opie should just leave her alone. You're the a-hole. You tormented this girl and you admit it. She's made it clear she wants nothing to do with you. Grow up and leave her alone. Opie didn't apologize. As far as Ruby knew at first, Opie was trying to pretend they were good and nothing happened. Ruby tried to make her point over and over, that being treated like that hurt and had an impact, and from Ruby's point of view that Opie was ignoring. Then Ruby made a point that she's not acknowledging Opie, to which Opie told her, real mature. Opie never apologized, and each interaction behaved worse and worse. And as far as Ruby knows and can see, Opie has continued her old habits and intimidation tactics. She sent friend requests on social media. That is totally an apology. Jeez, what more do you want? Opie bullied this poor girl in high school and has decided the way to make amends is to harass her? She posted pictures with a couple of the guys from my old group with a caption about how nice it is when people grow and change. Maybe they actually did genuinely apologize and change, unlike Opie. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin and his wife it serves them right that their daughter wants nothing to do with them? My cousin Mark and his wife Patricia have 2 children, Jennifer and Lexi. School was very difficult for Jennifer. She had many problems with boys, and a traditional school environment just didn't accommodate her learning style. Lexi performed very well in that environment. Lexi was able to skip a grade in elementary school and was considered a violent prodigy. Instead of trying to help Jennifer with her learning struggles or encourage Jennifer's talents, Mark and Patricia would negatively compare her to Lexi. Things like, Lexi has twice as many friends as you, and she's 4 years younger. Or, Lexi skipped a grade and has all A's, yet you're only getting a C in English. Or, Lexi can do things that are actually useful. Mark and Patricia would talk about raising Jennifer and Lexi by saying, the screw-up always comes before you do something great. I would stand up for Jennifer, because Mark and Patricia were clearly hurting her with such incredibly cruel statements. Mark and Patricia would only respond that we were both being oversensitive, and how their comments were good because they would motivate Jennifer to be as ambitious and advanced as her younger sister. Jennifer and Lexi are now adults. Jennifer moved out as soon as she financially could and has had no contact with Mark or Patricia since. Lexi fell into bad habits when she entered college and eventually dropped out of the university. She no longer plays violin, also flips off and curses at her parents. She essentially told Mark and Patricia, screw you. It's my life and I'm doing whatever the heck I want with it. Because Lexi is no longer fulfilling their expectations or doing things they can boast about, Mark and Patricia are now trying to get back into contact with Jennifer. But Jennifer wants nothing to do with them. Mark and Patricia were complaining because after using a 4th phone number to contact Jennifer, she had just blocked them previously. Jennifer called them out for only contacting her because Lexi was no longer available. Mark and Patricia tried to get sympathy by saying they have no idea why Jennifer has abandoned them. But I told Mark and Patricia it serves them right that Jennifer wants nothing to do with them. They always made her feel invalued compared to Lexi. Of course, Jennifer doesn't want to be their golden child now that Lexi has lost their favor. Most of the younger family members agree with what I said, excluding Jennifer. Because Mark and Patricia would have likely never contacted Jennifer if Lexi was still doing what they wanted. But most of the older family members said I was an a-hole because Mark and Patricia are realizing their mistake, and I'm just kicking them when they're already down. Even if Mark and Patricia were truly sorry for raising Jennifer as if she were less than Lexi, it doesn't excuse them from the consequences of doing it. But the older family members are saying it wasn't a time or place to say what I did. Am I the a-hole? Thank you for standing up for Jennifer. You have the right attitude, and it's not your fault they don't want to be confronted with her gross behavior. Too bad. So sad. Not the a-hole. Having someone stand up for you when your parents won't can make a huge difference for a kid. 100% this and not the a-hole. Where were the older family members when your cousin and wife were kicking Jennifer when she was down? I'm with Jennifer and you. You were wonderful to stand up for her when no one else would. To your cousin and wife, you reap what you sow. They are the a-holes. Not the a-hole. Pretty typical golden child scapegoat dynamic. I live this too, and I wish I'd had somebody like you speaking truth to my parents. You're not kicking them when they're down, because they're still saying garbage like this. Mark and Patricia tried to get sympathy by saying they have no idea why Jennifer has abandoned them. As long as they pretend to not understand and practice the missing reasons, somebody needs to tell them what's what. I'm glad Jennifer has you to do so on her behalf, since nobody else seems to care about her needs in all of this. Who abandoned who in this situation? The parents had abandoned any love or respect for Jennifer, long before she cut them out of her life. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Throw the entire family away, especially Mark and Patricia. That's being horrible parents that play favorites. Jennifer is 10,000% justified in cutting them off. And quite honestly, I hope she freaking crushes everything she pursues in life out of mere spite. It's ironic because Jennifer's talents, which Mark and Patricia called useless and a waste of time, are causing her to thrive right now. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my mother trade my car in that I let her borrow? A year ago, I was in the market for a new car. I had done a project at work really well and received a large bonus. With it, I wanted to buy a car. I had my eye on an Infiniti, but it was a little out of my price range. However, with the trade-in and bonus, I could afford it. Around that same time, my mother-in-law was having car trouble and found out I was in the market for a new car. With typical begging, she asked me if she could have my car since I was going to buy a new one. Now, I don't have the best relationship with her. She has hated me since I got married, but we tolerate each other for my partner's sake. She is a narcissist and believes my partner and I should be nothing more than her personal ATM. So I was against it, but I let her borrow the car. The keyword is borrow. I gave her no title nor permanent rights to the car. Fast forward to a year later, maintenance is needed on the car. She always claims poverty when she wants something, and somehow expected my partner and I to foot the bill. When we said no, she wanted us to co-sign a loan for the maintenance, and once again, the answer was no. Fast forward a few weeks and we don't hear from her. The next thing we know, she pulls up in a new car. I had an eerie feeling, but proceeded to ask how she got it. She replied, I traded in my old car. What? You traded in the car I let you borrow and got a newer car than I got? Because I let you borrow my car I planned to trade in? I was livid, but I went numb. I could barely keep it together. When I asked her how she could do this, she said the car was hers and she could do what she wanted. Are you kidding me? I was beyond angry. A few days later, I got a call from the dealership asking me for the title. Apparently, my mother-in-law had lied and told them she had permission to trade a car in and could get the title. Cars can be traded in if there is no loan or lien on it, and since mine was paid, they let her trade it in. Now they are trying to sell the car and need a title for it. I refused and wanted them to either compensate for the value or at least give me a percentage of its value. I didn't want to be unreasonable and take my mother-in-law's car away, but I wanted some kind of value on the $12,000 my car was still worth. They said they were unwilling to negotiate the $5,000 I wanted, and either I could give them the title or that my mother-in-law could return the car she got and pick up the one she traded in. She's beyond angry and thinks I'm being a jerk for not giving her my car. Am I the a-hole for not just rolling over and giving in? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I tell the dealer you are calling the police unless they return it to you. They 100% knew your name was on the title when they looked it up. There was no way they thought mother-in-law owned a vehicle and her name was on it. They should have contacted you for the trade because you are the owner. A simple search with a VIN number would show mother-in-law is not the owner. I would give them till the end of business day. I think the dealership royally screwed up here. They should have searched the title before doing the trade-in. They failed big time. 100% report the car stolen, report to the police where it is, and let the police go collect it. Dealership has zero proof that you allowed this trade-in. They never should have taken possession without the title in hand. They screwed up and they need to fix it. And the dealer also needs to deal with your mother-in-law. If I were you, I'd get my car back and go straight to CarMax and sell it immediately. End of story. Info. What does partner have to say about all of this? After all, it is their mother. My partner is beyond angry and has cut contact. They're even more upset than me because of the pattern of behavior over the years. Mother-in-law has always been a thief and justifies it by saying the people she takes from have more. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my son he doesn't need one of his nannies? My son has 7 kids. 15 female, 10 male, 8 male, 6 female, 5 female, 3 female, and 6 months male. My son and daughter-in-law have 3 nannies. Maria and Sarah works weekdays, while Louisa works weekends. My son works a lot, but my daughter-in-law works part-time and is usually home by 1. Some backstory. Maria and I do not get along at all. When I'd visit the kids, I'd bring the younger kids a present and take them to the park or zoo. She always picked a fight with me for not doing the same with his oldest, even though she's a teenager and doesn't need someone to bring her a Barbie and take her to the park. I've also not been able to see or talk to my grandkids since before my grandson was born because of a lie that Maria told to my son. My son's oldest daughter is very sick. She takes a lot of medicines, and I talked to her once about living a more natural lifestyle so she could eventually get off her meds. Maria told my son I tried to convince his oldest to stop taking her medicine. Son also has the option to work from home. He usually chooses to work from the office, but Maria needed 2 days off so he stayed home with the oldest and the youngest. Maria works mornings and Sarah works afternoons. He and I were supposed to go out for lunch that day, so he called to cancel and explained why. At the end of the day, I asked him how his day with the kids was, and he said it was good, and it wasn't as hard as he thought. I asked why he asked Maria if he could work from home and take care of his kids himself, but he got mad at me for trashing Maria. I've told him I think Maria is paid too much for very little work, and he knows she and I don't get along. But I'm not trashing her. I'm just saying he doesn't need her and can save a lot of money. Now he's saying he doesn't want to talk to me if I only want to criticize his family. They consider Maria family since she's been with them for 9 years. Am I the a-hole for telling my son he doesn't need Maria? So you tried to convince your sick granddaughter to take on some natural cure scam as opposed to actual evidence-based medicine. Maria told her father exactly what you actually did. You routinely play favorites among your grandkids and pick fights with someone who seems to be doing her job. Yeah, you're the a-hole. Agreed, you're the a-hole. I literally hate people who think medication is equal to unhealthy, and they have to get people off of medication as fast as possible. They praise a natural, healthy lifestyle, while forgetting that the medication is there to help sick people. Medication is liberation from sickness and helps people live. Agreed. I had a relative attempt to convince my mother to stop taking her MS medication because she doesn't like daily shots. I mean, who does? She instead suggested some sort of berry gummy and essential oils for MS. I do agree that if someone is taking a lot of meds to consult with a doctor and see if anything has changed, and perhaps lessening or changing the plan, as sometimes things are prescribed to cover side effects of others. We did this for my grandmother who went from 7 to 2 pills a day, because there was an alternative to one of her meds which knocked out 5 others. You're the a-hole. First of all, mind your own business. Also, you really expect someone to work from home and take care of 7 kids? You must be daft. Exactly. If he worked from home, he wouldn't get any work done. And he would likely no longer be employed.